Welcome to Tomorrow Never Knows with me, Bob Wilson, and Sir Warren Brown of the Beatles Kingdom. What can I say about our guest today, other than Danny says she's a sensation? The Beatles Kingdom is honored to welcome Linda Ramone to our show. We're gabba gabba excited. Lend us your ears and we'll give you a show. But first, a word from our sponsor. Beatles Magazine is a publication with 370 plus million visitors in all their pages, read by thousands of fans around the world every day. Beatles News is updated daily, 24 hours, audio, video, photos, interviews, contests, additional materials, and more. So follow Beatles Magazine, the most complete online coverage, 24 hours a day, and how many days a week, people?
8 days a week.
All right, it doesn't get cooler than that. Welcome, Linda.
Hello.
Welcome, Linda. Glad to have you on the show.
Oh, yeah, I guess you guys are Beatle fans.
We're Ramones fans.
Yeah.
Well, you know who the two best bands in the world are.
And there
the
you
Beatles
go.
And the Ramones.
Don Tootin, they don't get better than that. You know, my favorite.
That's what Rick Rubin says. The Beatles and the Ramones. I believe him.
I agree with
you.
Well, can you tell us about when you first saw the Ramones? I was looking at an interview you did with Henry Rollins, and he asked you about the first show that you saw, and the way it came about kind of surprised me. Was it one of their first shows ever, or just tell us about it, whatever comes to mind?
Oh, yeah, it was one of the first shows ever. It was really in the beginning. It was either 74, 75. I started going into the city with my friend Justin. He was in this band called Milk and Cookies, and we got to go into the city because we already had been going out to this club called the Club 82. And that club was mainly glitter rock. So it was like the end of the Dolls era. And all of a sudden, and I was still in high school. So I was probably maybe 15 years old. And we would go into the city. And the beginning, all of a sudden, Club 82, glitter rock was going out. And everyone said, everyone's going to this place called CBGB's. And that's when we started going. And I saw the Ramones probably the end of 74, 75. And they played 15 minutes. It was the fastest thing you've ever seen. It was like, huh? What happened? They went on, they went off. You kind of look around, you go, well, okay, that's that. And then later on, of course, Johnny says in an interview that the Beatles played a half an hour so the Ramones could play 15 minutes. Which makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I saw them early on, and CBGB's was kind of a interesting club, and it was like CBGB's and Maxis. So now I'm already going into the city, and I'm seeing bands. But 76, I'm a little bit older, and Milk and Cookies opening up for the Ramones at CBGB's. So now I've become a little bit more friendly with everybody because Justin's in the band who's opening up. So you hang out, you go earlier into the city. And it was different in 76 for me, but the early shows were amazing. But it was a little bit different than 76 for me. 76, I was more going into the CBGB's and Maxis and hanging out longer.
So you were cool by 15.
Oh, yeah. I was cool always. You know why? I had my brother. My brother was totally into rock and roll, and he was older. But my brother was into more like Black Sabbath and Black Oak, Arkansas, and Jim Dandy. And he liked, that kind of stuff. And we'd always go buy records at Corvettes. And he bought like Alice Cooper and like all cool stuff back then. I mean, everything was great back then.
Yes,
and so my brother was heavy into music, so I was heavy into music, but he liked much more harder stuff. Like, I was never really a Led Zeppelin fan. Like, I liked the Kings, but I wasn't. So all of a sudden, I'm sitting in my living room, and we had this amazing stereo that my father got us, and it was one of those where you could turn the lights, and they made all these different color lights. Mm-hmm. And my brother would go behind the stereo because, of course, everything was vinyl. And he'd play the Lemon song, and he'd do all the lights to the Lemon song. I was like, really, like growing up in Queens, there's nothing else to do but sit in your living room. I wasn't allowed to leave my block, and I had no friends. All I had was all my cousins. because I'm Italian, and all you grow up with is your family around you. God forbid you make a friend, they get rid of them.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
So I had the best time because I'm hanging out with my brother, and he's like reading Cream magazine and Circus and Rock Scene, and for me it was a great time, and I loved Alice Cooper. But you know, my brother turned me on to the New York Dolls, and that was a turning point for me.
Well, that's another one of our questions. So, like, but hold that thought so that we get to that one. We were chomping at the bit to ask you about that, believe it or not. But you're from Rosedale. I'm from Queens. I'm from Queens, and Rosedale is kind of like on the border of Long Island. So when you were going into the city, were you taking the Long Island Railroad in there? What was it like growing up in Rosedale?
Well, what was like, you couldn't wait to get out of it. That's how I felt. I was like, how am I ever going to get out of my bedroom? I mean, really, like, there must be something else. And then finally, I would go to like little shows in Rosedale, and I met this guy, Justin, who was in this band called Milk and Cookies. And I had this photo of David Johansen scotch taped onto my pocketbook. And his girlfriend at the time, Abby, came over to me and she said, "Oh, you like the Dolls?" And I was like, "Oh, no, I don't like the Dolls. I love the Dolls." And then all of a sudden, they were already going into the city. So I started going into the city then. Out of nowhere, I meet this girl in high school called Ollie Ronson. And she was really like, she wrote on the desk, you know, "Hello." And I wrote, "I love the New York Dolls." And she said, "Let's meet after school." And we met after school, but she was in 12th grade and I was in 9th grade. So she was kind of a little disappointed. I could tell, you know, when you meet somebody and they're like, "How old are you?" Oh, boy. But she took me into the city. And that's when I started going into the city. And then I couldn't believe I got out of my bedroom and actually was going into the city. I mean, and we did take the Long Island Railroad into Manhattan because for some odd reason, the Long Island Railroad stopped in Rosedale.
We used to grab the E or the F train into Manhattan, but later on I lived in Long Island and I would take the Long Island Railroad in there, so I identify completely. But
well, the Long Island Railroad was much nicer than the subway. I would have never gone on the subway that young.
It was an experience riding it to school back and forth. But
yeah.
When you describe the Dolls, you actually say they changed your life, like they meant so much to you. And you described some of it already, but the Dolls really got to you. That was your favorite band. Are they still your favorite? Besides, we'll leave the Ramones out of it.
No, they're not my favorite. You know what? It's kind of, it's funny because people would always come up to Johnny and go, "You know, the Ramones changed my life." And I go, "Oh, God," you know. But now I remember, it's true. What happened, it wasn't that it changed my life, but it changed how I started thinking. Like, all of a sudden, my brother was into, like, Black Sabbath and you know, and Fanny and all these groups. And then he came out of his room one day and said, "I found a band for you." And he showed me the photo of the Dolls. And what happened to me then is I identified with that. So then I was like, I don't want to talk to anybody who likes Led Zeppelin anymore. I don't want to talk to anybody who's into that. I want to find people who I can relate to. And no one in Rosedale except this one girl, Ollie Ronson, who happened to know the Dolls I meet in high school, which is kind of crazy. And I went to her house to meet her parents because we were going to start hanging out together. And I think her name's Ollie Ronson, you know. Why wouldn't I think that? But her real name is Arlene Amato. She's Italian. She changed her name because she loved Nick Ronson.
She wasn't your cousin, was she?
She wasn't my cousin, no.
Just
but
checking.
she was great, you know? I mean, so that's how I started going into the city. I started going into the city, you know, just meeting her in the high school. But the Dolls, it just gave me something different than what my brother liked. Maybe that's, you know, and they looked different. They were interesting, you know, and it was just the changing of the time. And then I just started loving glitter rock because then I started listening to Slade. My father took me into the city with my girlfriend to see Slade. And Aerosmith opened up for Slade at the Felt Forum. I mean, so I'm going to concerts. I'm 14 years old, seeing amazing stuff.
mind-blowing. You were in the right place, though. I mean, New York City was the place to catch all that. You know, you had the train available, and you could get into the city and see just about anybody from time to time.
Yeah.
That's so much going on, especially then.
I mean, there was groups all the time. And then, you know, so I go from going to a couple of concerts with my father driving me into the city. Then I would go, the first concert I went with my brother was my first concert ever. I went to see Grand Funk Railroad.
Wow,
I mean,
good concert.
yeah, good concert. I was like 12.
Wow.
later on, we were going through all of, so Johnny now has kept every ticket stub to every concert he ever went to.
Wow.
If
He was
you
a
can believe that.
true collector.
Yes.
I mean, and he was at the Grand Funk Railroad show. But since he was 11 years older than me, I was 12 and he was 21. Sounds weird then. But it's funny, you get older and nothing matters then. Whether you're, you know, then when you're like 18 or 28 or 38, it's all the same. But when you're like in the 15, 16, 17, it sounds different.
I agree.
So you saw the Ramones in New York, if I'm getting it straight, you saw them there, and then he was at the concert, same as you. He's 11 years older. Now, when did you actually come to know them? Then, when did you meet them? Was that like, I think you were on a trip in California, if I remember correctly.
No, I already had met them at going to CBGB's, but
Well,
you knew everybody. It wasn't really that big. So we'd go out every weekend, me and Justin and Abby and Janice. We'd drive into the city. So I already knew Joey and would say hello to him, but never really talked to him. You know, but everybody said hello to each other. Like I was friends with Clem Burke. I was friends with Walter Law from the Heartbreakers. And Walter actually was a good friend of mine because Walter used to come to my house all the time when I was growing up. And my friend Anna Swee and, you know, Paul Zone and like everyone would come to my house and hang out at my house. So it was a different time. But at that point, going to CBGB's and Max's, everyone kind of was friendly with each other. Even though you didn't really hang out together, you'd all be going to the same club every weekend.
Now, so when you met those guys, like I was just wondering at first, if I can ask, like you first were with Joey, and he fell in love with you, love at first sight?
No. Me and Joey, we already had known each other from New York. We fell in love in LA in the parking lot of the Tropicana. That's when Joey said he fell in love.
Lyric. That sounds like a Ramones lyric. I fell in love at the Tropicana.
Everything with Joey was a lyric.
Yeah, he was great. He was great.
Oh yeah, he was. I mean, everybody was, you know, great songwriting, but Joey, you know, it all depends. You know, Joey always wrote from the heart.
You fell in love in the parking lot. How'd that work out?
Well, it was fun at the time. I mean, I was living in LA. You know, at that point, I went on a summer vacation because Justin moved to LA. See, I guess a lot of things revolved what Justin was going to do because Justin was older. And I went to visit him, and he went back home for a bar mitzvah, and I stayed in LA. And then Joey and I was living at the Tropicana because that's where me and Justin were living. And the Ramones came to town, and they were staying at the Tropicana. And that's me and Joey then saw each other in the parking lot, and Joey said he fell in love in the talking to each other. And it was Thanksgiving, and we were all going to go to the same place that night for Thanksgiving. We would go to this lady's, Lee, who ran the Tropicana house at the Tropicana. So we were all going to meet that night for Thanksgiving, and then I met him that night, Joey, Thanksgiving, and then we were inseparable after that for the next 3.5 years.
When you were when they were in California, then this is a stupid question, but they were on tour?
Yes, they were on tour.
They weren't filming the movie or anything then. That was much earlier, right?
Well, the first time I met Joey, because we just hung out the first time. The second time, this time, when he does fall in love with me, that is during Rock and Roll High School.
During filming of the movie. All right, I'm gonna hand it over to Warren because I know he has some great questions for you, and he's patiently waiting.
Okay.
Thanks, Bulldog. I appreciate that, and sorry for jumping in the middle there and
It was a
asking the
great text.
question.
It was a good question. Good question.
All right, thank you. You were together with Johnny for 20 years. That's a solid marriage in the entertainment world. What caused such a strong bond to exist?
I think me and Johnny always grew together, and I think collecting had a lot to do with it because it always kept us fascinating in doing things. Like when we first were living in New York, all Johnny ever talked about was retiring. That was his thing. He was going to retire. One day I'm going to retire, and we're going to have a house. And I'm like, okay, and we always knew we'd move to L.A. because we liked the weather, and we always wanted to have a pool. Don't ask. Nobody really swam, but we always wanted a pool. In our mind, that was retirement, living in L.A., sitting by the pool, and having a nice time. And that's what we did. And that's what Johnny did for retirement. So we came to L.A. So I think everything we did together, we grew together. We collected together. We did everything together. And Johnny was very into kind of going shopping with me, seeing what I was wearing. He always took interest in everything.
Well, that's good. That's what gives you a strong bond with the person that you're with.
Sure.
So that's some great stuff there. Recently, Bob's friend Joe McBride was on the show. He co-wrote the Rock and Roll High School film. What do you think about that film? And a shout out to Joseph.
Oh, I love Rock and Roll High School. Are you kidding? I'm in Rock and Roll High School. I'm in the hallway with Rodney Binghamheimer.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's cool.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
I'm there with Rodney Binghamheimer. We're in the hallway when they're running through the hallway. I was on the set of Rock and Roll High School all the time because that's when I started dating Joey.
Right. Wow.
So
that's awesome.
That's a great time, and I still see Alan Arkish. Alan Arkish just had Rock and Roll High School reunion at his house.
Wow.
I see them all the time because I see PJ. And not this year, the other year, I did Rock and Roll High School at Johnny's tribute, and Roger Corman came, Mary Warnoff came, Dee came, PJ always comes. PJ Soul always comes to all my stuff. Everybody came. Clint Howard came. The whole team, Alan, all the writers. It's amazing. Oh yeah, we have really great Johnny tributes.
You have one of them every year, don't you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice.
Last year I showed the Warriors. It was amazing. Walter Hill came to direct us. Swan came. It's everything Johnny Ramone would have wanted to go to. It's all about movies, music, collecting. It's in the cemetery right by where Johnny's statue is.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, we show movies on the screen on the wall. It's like the best time ever.
Is anyone invited to that, or you need
it's open to the public.
Wow.
Oh, you have to buy a ticket, yeah. But I do for prostate cancer research for Dr. David Agus because it's what Johnny died of.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Well, yeah, but it's great for prostate cancer research.
Right.
Because a lot of people don't even understand what's that all about, prostate cancer.
Right. It's a nasty disease, that's for sure. Johnny and you had special theme rooms in your home in California. Can you tell us about them, please?
Yeah, we have theme rooms. When we first got the house, we walked into the house and we walked into the room and we both at the same time looked at each other and said Elvis room. So we have an Elvis room, we have a horror room, we have a Disney bathroom. See, But when Johnny was alive, we had a Disney bathroom and a Disney room because he wouldn't let me put up any rock and roll. He wouldn't let. There was no Ramones. But after Johnny passed away, I kept the Disney bathroom, but I changed the other Disney into a rock and roll room because I had so much cool rock and roll stuff, that I wanted a rock and roll room. And and Johnny had a baseball room. I changed the baseball room. Now it's kind of really my Ramones, where I have all my like Johnny Ramone stuff for the tribute, and so there's no more baseball room either. So
Wow.
a couple of rooms have changed, but a lot of rooms have stayed the same.
Right. Well, I like to take a tour of your house. It sounds good,
Oh
like
yeah,
a museum.
I've had some people come in. Like I've had Harper's Bazaar shoot me at the house, and the other day I had some Spanish magazine come, and yeah, the house it's all themes, and I have Johnny. It's very Johnny, that's for
Right.
sure.
Right. You said he was a collector of baseball cards. How big was his collection?
Well, he had the most autographed 8x10, the biggest ones in the country.
Wow.
Yeah, he sold that when he was sick. He sold that. He sold some of his horror stuff and sci-fi stuff, and some stuff I kept.
Wow. It's a shame he had to sell some of that stuff.
Well, he got a little bit nervous because he thought that people knew what he had and that they would come rob me. So it was kind of a weird. It was kind of that, more like that, but
Right.
I mean, but I never sell anything. I actually buy back stuff all the time.
Wow.
I just bought back a pin. I bought back a pinhead dress. I just bought back a Road to Ruin display. I buy back everything. Everything I see come up, I buy back.
And did you have to buy it for more than you sold it for?
Always, because you get stuck now. Whoever has it always wants to put it in an auction, which is kind of terrible, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, the pinhead dress I had to buy back from our road manager, who probably shouldn't even have had the dress. But that's sometimes what can you do?
Well, he should have gave it to you, in my opinion.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Tell that to him.
Yeah. Johnny trusted you with his legacy. What has that meant to you?
Oh, well, that's everything. Because Johnny, that's all he talked about, is his legacy when he was sick. And for me, it was great because I always watched Johnny, because Johnny was in control of the band. Johnny did all the decisions. I mean, he would talk to Joey about them. He never made a decision without Joey, but he was in charge. Johnny was totally in charge. So I watched for years how to do it. So I was, he said when he was dying, I'd rather be here doing this myself. But if I had to pick one person, I'd pick you. So to me, that was everything. Yeah. And you know what? It's been great. It was much easier because Joey Ramone left everything to his mother.
Mm-hmm.
And when his mother passed away, she left it to the brother. And that's been a really nightmare for me.
Oh,
so
boy.
The brother's a total vile, sexist nightmare. And unfortunately, he's been my business partner for a while now. And, arbitration, he should have been removed. He just was. What can you do? You just got to make the best of it, and roll with it. And you got to just do what's best for the Ramones.
And that's it. That's all you can do.
But
go ahead.
But, it is sad because I don't think Joey thought about, nobody really thinks about and wants to think about, what are you going to do? Because for sure he would have never left it to his brother. He didn't even like him. Which he didn't leave it to his brother. He left it to his mother. But
right.
That's what happens,
Right. Yeah, things
And you
get
know what?
passed.
It's funny with legacies. Like, people don't realize how important they are. And they are super important. It really, you really can tell when people are like on top of people's legacies and when people aren't. Like Elvis is still out there and doing amazing. It's because Priscilla and Lisa Marie are doing it. But Priscilla, I've learned a lot from Priscilla because Priscilla was the one who, out of nowhere, decided to open Graceland to the public, and that changed everything.
Right.
That's amazing.
Well, you're a big Elvis fan, I can tell. Have you ever met Priscilla or Elvis or any of those?
Never Elvis. Johnny and Lisa Marie were best friends.
Wow.
We went to Graceland with Lisa Marie. She took us to Graceland, and we even got to go up to Elvis's room, and nobody gets to go up there.
Wow, that's really cool.
I still see Lisa Marie all the time.
Oh, that's nice. How's she doing?
She's doing good. I mean, everybody has, things in life. Life's not easy for everybody.
Right. All right, I'm going to change gears a little bit here. We feature a lot of Beatles here. What did the Ramones think of the Beatles? How important were they to them?
Well, very actually. They named their band after the Beatles. Paul McCartney would check in hotels as Paul Ramone.
Mm-hmm.
So Dee Dee started calling himself Paul Dee Dee Ramone, and now they're the Ramones.
Wow.
So we have a Beatle connection.
Yeah.
And it's funny, when I met Paul McCartney, I met him because Neil Young, it was one of the Brit schools, and Pearl Jam was playing, Eddie Vedder was playing with them in Chili Peppers.
Mm-hmm.
And I went over and I said hello to Paul McCartney with Eddie, and he said, I can't believe I'm meeting Linda Ramone today. He goes, in my watch, I took a photo in the cement today. He walked by something and he saw Ramone written in the cement, and he took a photo of it. And he tried to show me the photo because he took it with his watch, but he couldn't figure out how to do it. So that was like a Paul McCartney, Linda Ramone, Eddie Vedder moment. It was just like, and the three of us took a photo together.
Wow, that is good. Do you still have that photo?
Oh yeah, of course.
If you could send that a picture of that photo to Bob, I can put it on the show for you.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, it's a cool photo.
Yeah.
And then I also have a good photo of Paul McCartney. He signed it to Johnny Ramone, a.k.a. Paul Ramone.
Wow, I'd like to see that too.
Yep, that we have in the rock and roll room. I have that one up. That was great.
Any pictures like that, or any kind of pictures of your memorabilia or anything that you can send to Bob, I can put it on the show for you.
Okay, great. That's fun.
Yeah, that sounds great. And
but Johnny's favorite Beatle, because you always know everybody always has a favorite Beatle.
Of course.
His was Paul McCartney. And then, a lot of people, it's either, Paul McCartney, John Lennon. I mean, I'm sure George and Ringo and everybody has fans, but it's usually Paul or John. Mine growing up was always Paul, but then I realized later on there's a lot of John songs I like, because I love like Instacarmer and when he does all his Phil Spector stuff.
Right. Well, I'm a big John Lennon fan myself, so.
Yeah.
And you're right. Everybody has their favorite Beatle, and yours is Paul McCartney. You said. Yeah.
But it is funny though. You listen to the solo records, Paul McCartney solo records with Wings. Some of them are really amazing.
Yes, they're awesome, off the charts.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Do you have any more Paul McCartney stories?
I've only met him twice. That was my two Paul McCartney stories. I met him another time at his daughter's opening for the Straw. Wasn't quite as memorable as the other one, because the other one he had his Ramone story.
Wow.
Nothing like having Paul McCartney have a Ramone story. That's good.
Yeah, it is. That's great. I like the story about the watch too. I never heard that before.
Oh, yeah.
Great. Can you tell us about your socks? I heard you have a socks collection, or
Well, that's another Beatle connection. There you go. I saw the Beatle Happy Socks.
Wow.
And I liked the Beatle Happy Socks, and I said to my office, find out if they want to do a Johnny Ramone sock. So they came over, the Happy Socks people, because now when I meet people who I have to do business with, I have them come to Ramone Ranch, because it just makes it more pleasant. And they're Swedish. And they came to the house, and they looked all around the house, because the house is all psychedelic. I mean, the house, it has really blossomed into something really fun. I mean, it always was, but now, it stayed fun. Even though Johnny died in the house, and he died on the couch, doesn't matter. Everybody comes here. Everybody still has a great time. Johnny's always here at the house. But I saw the Beatle, and then when they came over, they said, we want to do a Johnny and Linda sock.
Wow.
It's like, okay, and they wanted to do it for Valentine's Day, and they wanted it was a true love story.
Right.
And that's what happened. And that's what happened with the Happy Socks. And I designed them with Happy Socks. They did an amazing job. They did an amazing box. They came to the house. They did a video of me at the house. And I did all the press from the house. It was a lot of fun.
That sounds like it. Your Beatles socks, I hear you have some yellow submarine socks.
I don't. I have Johnny and Linda, but yes, the Happy Socks did do Beatles socks.
Yeah,
they did yellow submarine socks.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, my wife was telling me about those earlier, and they sounded interesting to me. I have Beatle tennis shoes myself, and
Yeah.
have some socks to go along with them would be cool. Anyway, I thank you very much for answering some of my questions, and I'm going to hand it back to the Bulldog.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
When we were saying we're getting to know each other a little before the show started, you were telling us about Eddie Vedder and the baseball cards. Could you tell that anecdote again for the audience?
Okay. Which story was that now?
Well, he put them on display.
No, that's Johnny's baseball books, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
The baseball cards.
Well, when Johnny passed away,
they were pictures, not cards. I'm thinking of cards because I saw him on TV once on MTV, and he was showing off books of baseball cards.
He has some baseball cards, but he had the biggest autograph collection.
Can you tell us about that and how they ended up on display?
Well, the autograph collection, Johnny worked on that intensely. He would find 8x10s of baseball players, and he'd write them a letter with a self-addressed stamped envelope. He'd write to these players, and they'd write back, and they go, "We've never seen this photo before. Where can we get a copy?" That's how deep he went into it. He'd write them a nice letter, and sign it John Cummings. Once in a while, he signed Johnny Ramone, later on with Dave Rigetti, because he would go to whenever everybody would pick what they wanted to do, and some of the Ramone videos, Johnny would always want to go to Yankee Stadium and do his bit there. So with the baseball card collection, it wasn't as big as his baseball 8x10 collection. So he would, and he'd always stop by, we'd always do all these auctions, and we still do. And when we first met Eddie was a big baseball fan, but he never really collected like that. So, of course, Johnny gets him, to the point where he's like a crazy collector, and they'd sit on the phone, and he'd say to Eddie, "Okay, stop bidding, it's going too much." And Eddie'd go, "No, I'm going to get it. So Johnny always got everybody into collecting, all our friends, no matter who they were. If they didn't collect before, you hang out with Johnny, you start collecting.
That I believe. And he was, as you just mentioned, Mr. Yankees. I mean, it had to be the Yankees.
Yeah, he hated the Mets. He had the biggest fights with George Thorogood.
All right,
we had to stop talking to George Thorogood. Oh yeah, they had a fight at the Glen where we live. Oh, it was so crazy.
That sounds like a barn burner for sure.
Yeah, it does.
I know Johnny influenced many people with his guitar playing, and I was just wondering some of the people who expressed that to him, maybe when he met them, or people who you've met, and have come to you and said, Johnny influenced our band, influenced my guitar playing. He was very influential. The Ramones were very unique. Can you tell us about what some of the people might have related to you about how they were influenced by Johnny's playing in the Ramones?
Well, I mean, when you met, Kirk from Metallica, he was a big Johnny fan, and then we became friends. We always became friends with everybody then. It would be weird. The Ramones would go on, on Lollapalooza, and first Johnny didn't want to do it, but every time he'd leave, we became friends with Chris then. We became friends, it was always something like that. Everybody who, Johnny influenced, we became best friends with everybody. It's from Chris from Soundgarden people to Metallica people to Rancid to, even Devo. I mean, we were at a restaurant in L.A. and Mark Mothersbaum came over to Johnny and we're like sitting at this table and he goes, I just want to tell you, after we saw the Ramones, we sped up everything.
Wow, that's quite a compliment.
And that's Devo.
So everybody was listening from Paul McCartney on down, right? So you guys had...
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how many people Johnny influenced, But he influenced people to just pick up the guitar because he would say, who doesn't want to be Jeff Beck and Jimmy Page? But I'd be practicing the rest of my life before I could ever go out there and do it. So Johnny just told everyone, you know what? You get up, you go out, and you play guitar. And he got a little of that from like seeing Johnny Thunders, in the Dolls, and seeing like the MC5, and because he was very influenced because he was going out to see bands. He saw Jimi Hendrix, he saw The Who, he saw everybody.
Now, another guitar player who I wanted to ask about, on one of Pete Townsend, they had the video for the song for Substitute, the Who song Substitute.
Yeah, it didn't come out so good.
I'm a fan. I liked it.
Yeah.
But you have a better ear than I do, so you're closer to it. But how did Pete Townsend become involved in that? Is there any backstory to that you could tell us, and how he came to play?
Joey was a huge Who fan. I mean, more so than Johnny. Johnny liked the Who. He thought they were the best live band he had seen. But Joey was a big Who fan. And you know what? They just contacted Pete Townsend, and Pete Townsend did it. Like sometimes you just meet different people who tell other people. And so Pete Townsend, they were doing the song, and he went down. But Johnny didn't meet him when he went down. I don't know what happened, but somehow he didn't meet him.
But it was interesting to hear him play on that record, and for the Who to kind of meet the Ramones, it was kind of a legendary moment for a fan, to hear him come on and play with them.
Yeah. Robbie
ahead.
Krieger did that too, though. Robbie Krieger came out and played with the Ramones.
Can you tell us that? Can you tell us that story? I was kind of friendly with Robbie Krieger's son Waylon for a long time. I'd love to hear the story.
Well, Johnny's a big Doors fan. Very big, and he saw the Doors. I don't know, 10 times, 20 times. Saw the Doors a lot, and they were doing a Doors song, a Doors cover, and all of a sudden somebody asked Robbie Krieger, and Robbie Krieger said he would come out and play with the Ramones, the song, and Johnny was super excited about that. There's a video of that, so I have a video of that somewhere. It's really cool.
I've never seen that. If it ever goes on YouTube, or if you, I don't know, have a still photo from it, we'd love to put it into this video for the show if possible. But that's... Oh,
yeah, I could get you a copy of that.
I'd love to see it. I might even... I was pretty friendly with Waylon Krieger, the son, for a long time. Not musically, we're just friendly. And I never heard that story, so that's a pretty cool one for me.
Well, yeah, they did take it as it comes. And they did a good job on it, I thought.
I haven't heard that. That's exciting.
If you can send that video, I can put it at the end of the show.
Yeah, it's cool. It came out good.
It sounds good.
Johnny was super excited about that because they really never had anybody come out and do guest appearances, ever.
Right.
I never knew that happened, so I'm really stunned.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny now because my manager, Jeff Jampool, manages the Doors.
Wow.
So I see Robbie Krieger all the time.
Well, I haven't spoken to Waylon in a while. We never do shout-outs, but there's 2 on one show, so I just say hello to Waylon.
There you go.
Sings for his dad, so he's pretty incredible, and I hope he's doing well. Can you tell us about the Johnny Ramone Army, how you started it, and how it benefits charities?
Well, the Johnny Ramone Army I started because I want everybody to be part of the Johnny Ramone Army.
Of course.
Because Johnny was commander-in-chief, and why not? What I do is I do prostate cancer research for Dr. David Agus. And because when Johnny was sick, he always wanted to help Agus, because when Johnny got prostate cancer, we didn't even know what it was. We were riding home in the car and he goes, what does this even mean? He was 50 years old. You never would even ever imagine that you have prostate cancer so young because you don't think of it. So now it's great because at the tributes, I have, the Dr. Agus come out and he talks to all the kids about cancer. And that's an amazing thing. Prostate cancer awareness and cancer awareness and to go get checked is a big thing to do because it does help a lot of people.
Well, if you'd like to send anything over to include with this video when we post it, we'd add anything on that he sends over or you send over to make people more aware of it. Anything we could do to help spread the word in our own small way, we'd be quite willing to do.
Okay, yeah, no, it's amazing because a lot of people don't. I mean, prostate cancer is more out in the open now, but when Johnny got it, I'm telling you, a lot of people, never really heard of it like you do now.
I agree. And my wife is currently fighting breast cancer.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, breast cancer, for some odd reason, that one's been around a long time. I mean,
right.
And, but all the new developments, it is pretty amazing what they can do.
Yeah,
I mean, you can actually survive.
Right. I hear they got a new treatment for breast cancer also where they go in and they freeze the cancer and it's supposed to kill the cancer and all the cells around the cancer so it don't grow. And I thought that was pretty amazing there. And my wife is thinking about that the next time she's got to go in for her treatments.
Yeah, I mean, there is definitely, since Johnny passed away, there's definitely a bunch of new stuff out there that helps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just wish they had it back then when he had his prostate cancer.
Yeah, it was really new then, and we made a couple of decisions Johnny made a decision not to remove his prostate, which he probably should have. He did T radiation, and he wasn't really a candidate for that.
Right. That's a nasty disease, that's for sure.
Yep.
If you send us over maybe a website, maybe we could add it into the, we have like a video backdrop when Warren does his great graphic arts in the background of these shows. And we could put in, if there's a website or someplace people could go to look up more information about that, we'd be happy to include it.
Okay.
So
that sounds cool.
And if fans want to follow you in general and the socks and the things that are going on in the events, what website can they head over to, or what place? Where can they find you?
Well, me personally, I like Instagram. So it's Linda Ramone on Instagram and Johnny Ramone on Instagram. I mean, of course, you can go to Facebook or you could go to johnnyramone.com. But I really think Instagram is the best way to follow people now. I think it's nicer than Facebook. I think Facebook has gotten to the point where it's a lot of angry people on it, and people just say the most awful things about people. And I kind of don't want any of that dark energy in my life. So I kind of stay away from that. But Instagram's great. You put up a photo, people like it. And you can get your message out. I think.
No, I agree. And, last year I just wanted to say I was in California and we went to the cemetery to see someone, and I didn't realize the statue was there at the particular cemetery we went to. And I walked over and I got to stand next to the statue, and I got, to remember the time that I had met Johnny, and, he threw me a guitar pick and it signed my poster. And I just thought it was a wonderful tribute, and it meant a lot to me. And only 2 times in my life did I cry when a celebrity passed away. To me, it's a celebrity. To you, it's someone you knew so well, your husband. But when Johnny Ramone died, I literally wept when I saw the New York Post. And the other time I cried was when Gregory Peck passed away. So.
Oh, okay.
It really meant a lot. Their music meant a lot to me, being from Queens, and they kind of spoke the same way, and I could identify with the humor and the way they dressed. And the music was unique and fantastic, and to this day it means so much to me, which is why I'm so grateful, and Warren, so grateful that you came onto the show today.
Oh, yeah, no, this is great. And you know what? That's what Johnny wanted with the statue. He wanted people to go there and just like go, wow, and have that feeling. Because Johnny had that kind of feeling when he saw the John Wayne statue out here. There was like, because he loved John Wayne. He was his favorite actor. And that's how I feel the statue is. Like, everyone who goes to see Johnny's statue is always like, whoa. It's such a good feeling seeing the statue. And, we worked on the statue while he was sick. I mean, he knew what the statue was going to look like because Rob Zombie had given him every year. It's a funny Rob Zombie story because every year Rob, to find Johnny the perfect gift would be always hysterical because if it wasn't perfect, you could tell that Johnny didn't think it was great. So Rob had this statue made, Legend, and it was by this Wayne Toth, who was friends with everybody. And when Johnny got sick, and we were talking about what we were going to do, because Arturo said, oh, we should do this, and I was like, nope, let's do a statue. And we did the statue that Rob gave Johnny that said Legend, and we just made it giant. Yeah. And so Johnny knew what the statue was going to look like, which was even,
cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird in a way because, you're dying, but yet you're talking about all the stuff. But that's what Johnny was. Johnny, he taught me a lot of stuff when he was sick. He taught me how to do the business. That's why I think I'm good at the business and, and good at doing the tributes and knowing what Ramones fans would like and what, I just think, he taught me really well. And that's why I guess I love doing the legacy.
Well, you've done a great job with it, I have to say, and it was very moving to stand, by the statue and just stand there and quietly check it out and, think about all the fun I had listening to that music and all the good times. And, remember him. So I think you guys did a great job with that.
Yeah, I'm glad. Thank you. Because it's, it's really nice when fans and people go to see the statue and go, wow, that statue, is really amazing looking, because that's really what Johnny wanted.
Right.
Did a great, and I didn't know till today, because when I was there, I would have walked around if this is true. But is Dee Dee in the same cemetery as the statue?
Of course, yeah. Dee Dee's in. So when Dee Dee passed away, me and Johnny went to Dee Dee's funeral, and Johnny was sick at that point too. We didn't know exactly when he was going to die, but we knew he was sick. And he said, "All right, you could put me near Dee Dee, but not too close. I want my own section." He was like, Dee Dee's is already too crowded. So Dee Dee, so we're in the same section, and we didn't name it, but it's called Garden of Legends.
Wow.
Which is crazy. Now our friend Chris Cornell is next to Johnny, which is very sad.
Yeah,
it never. Right after he was buried. I think when I went there, it was right after he'd been buried.
Yeah, that's really sad.
You were friends. You were friends with Chris Cornell.
Oh yeah, very good friends. Best
wow,
friends.
wow. Yeah. I'm a big fan of his, and I think he is just awesome. And Bob talks about crying when somebody passes away. I was in tears when he passed.
Yeah, well, Chris is right next to Johnny.
Wow, I didn't know that. Good information.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, continue. We keep interrupting you. We're oafs. You have to forgive us.
No, that's okay. Well, no. This is what happens when you get a bunch of New Yorkers and one Vegas one.
Yeah,
there you go.
New Yorkers always do that. Like, some people get crazy, you interrupted me. It's like, what?
I wish my wife was on the show with us, because she's a big Rob Zombie fan also, and
okay.
And she loves the Ramones too. And to know that you guys were friends with Rob Zombie, my wife would have enjoyed that.
Yeah, Rob convinced me and Johnny to move to LA. So we always thought about moving to LA. It was our first choice, but he was like, "Okay, you guys are gonna love it there," because Rob lived out here first.
Right. That's good stuff. I'm gonna have to tell my wife that. She's
Oh
gonna
yeah, and Johnny's statue is based after Rob's gift.
Wow, that's awesome.
Now, when Johnny went to California and you guys were there, what did he do with since he's such a big Yankee fan, which baseball team did he go to see out there?
Dodgers.
The Dodgers.
You've been to Dodger Stadium as Yankee fans. So how often would you guys I just gotta ask how many times you'd go out there to the Dodger Stadium?
Well, it depends on who had tickets. If there was always a ticket, Johnny'd always go. He never turned down a baseball game, ever.
Mm.
He loved baseball. And in that baseball exhibit, I put Johnny's scorecards that he took and he kept when he was a little kid.
Oh,
He kept
wow.
scorecards. Yeah.
Awesome.
Crazy. He kept everything. He wrote in all his books from 1973, even a little bit before the Ramones, to the last Ramone show. He wrote everywhere they played.
Mm.
And in the beginning, he would write what percentage they would go into.
That's nice memorabilia.
Yeah, so I have all of Johnny's little black books.
Mm. Like I said, I like to take a tour of your house.
Yeah, I mean, we've got some pretty good, and all his ticket stubs for his concerts. It's crazy to look through them. I mean, he's seen everybody.
Wow. I would appreciate if you send some pictures of your house. I'd like to see it.
Yeah, I mean, I have some cool stuff online with the house, but I'll send you some photos.
We'll be
Okay.
sure to film the show.
I just added a Disney doll from It's a Small World, an original doll. They had a Disney auction out here. Yeah, it was amazing. And I got my doll. I named her Buffy.
Right.
After Buffy from Family Affair.
They from Disneyland, not Disney World, right?
Yeah, she's from no, the one I have is from Disney World.
Disney World, because Disney World is in Florida and Disneyland is in California.
I know, but this was from some guy's collection that he collected all over. But this is from Disney World.
That's cool.
Yep, I still collect.
Well, I
still love collecting.
Want to give you a big Gabba thank you, and you have an open invitation to come on if there's any event that comes up or there's anything you want to do. Just let us know. And we have a tradition at the end of the show where we sing the Beatles song, "The End," but we're gonna let you off the hook because you said you don't want to sing, but you're gonna have to listen to us then. So are you sure?
I'd rather listen. That's okay.
All right. Well, we're not. It's more about the vibe, so we just do this because it's our traditional ending to the show.
Believe me, I can sing, Linda.
So you ready, Warren?
Yeah, you take the first in the middle, I'll take the end.
Sounds like a plan to me. And in the end, the love you take
is equal to the love you make.
Bow, 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 bow.
Linda, I'd like to thank you very much for coming on the show. You're a very exciting guest, and you kept me interested the whole show, and it was great to have you on.